The following is a Realtree outdoor production.
Welcome to Realtree Outdoor Productions' new elk hunting video, Monster Bulls. You know, if you've been a regular watcher of our Monster Bucks videos over the years and the All-Stars of Spring turkey hunting videos, well, we've got some excitement for you for the next hour. You know, this past year we went out west and we had some outstanding elk hunts. We even learned a lot about elk hunting, and I have two special guests with me today who shared all the action with us. George Tomlin with U.S. Outfitters and my old hunting partner, producer of the Realtree Outdoors television show, David Blanton. And David, it was quite a fall for us, wasn't it?
Quite a fall, you know, it's a 2-year process.
Right.
First year didn't go as well as this past year because we learned a lot. We really did good this past fall. This video, Bill and George has got 10 successful hunts with bow, muzzleloader, and rifle. We've also got, for the first time, profiles on both world record elk, the non-typical and the typical. And we also are going to have tips from our pro staff guys, and so there's a lot in store for this video.
You know, George, you know, we came out 2 years ago when we started filming the Monster Bulls elk hunting video. You about got us out of camp, but not really. You know, I tell you, we've been so used to hunting deer and turkey hunting. You know, people say, well, do you really enjoy elk hunting? I say, well, if you like to see big horns and if you like to see a big turkey bugle, the answer is yes. And, you know, we had a ball, but, you know, it was a little bit of a learning experience, what Dave was talking about, moving the cameras in the right position, but you got a great group of guides.
Well, that's pretty typical coming off whitetail. You know, most of our people have hunted whitetail and they come into elk, and it's just a different animal. Different techniques. You have to be much more aggressive. It's much more like hunting turkey, but it's also a big adrenaline rush.
Well, you know, 2 years ago I was lucky enough to draw an Arizona archery tag.
Right.
And so in the span of about 4 days, I kind of messed up an elk hunt in Arizona and an elk hunt in New Mexico, and I think George just took me to the airport like that if I wanted to go.
Well, he called me. He said, can you take him back? But, you know, I think that's the thing right there. You know, our guys and our cameramen did a great job this past fall. And like you said, we learned from one year to the next about getting in camera position, not so much in the hunting position, because, you know, you have to do some special things with a cameraman over your shoulder that normally you wouldn't have to worry about if you were just hunting without the camera.
Exactly right.
You're
So,
basically on the ground. There's a difference. You're on the ground, not so much in a tree where you can preset everything. You're on the ground with him, and he's moving, you're moving, and everything's got to move.
Well, there's always a lot of excitement, especially during the bugling time, you know, which we always love to bow hunt. But, David, we got some exciting hunts, you know, coming up. And how about explaining what we got coming up, you know, next?
Well, if it's all right with you two guys, I'd just soon get this first segment out of the way quickly so I get y'all off my back.
Well, this is payback, because I remember on one of our Monster Bucks videos, you put one or two of my misses in a couple of years ago, and that's what we're about to see. But how about setting up these first hunts?
Well, the first one is an Arizona bull that came in the first morning George bugled, and I mean, this bull just screamed like 80 yards from us, and I kind of didn't move when I was supposed to, didn't get aggressive enough, and also in New Mexico, another bull just got the best on it. We'll just have to take a look.
You know, David, I kind of want to take a look at that myself. Let's take a look.
Mention the state of Arizona, and what comes to mind for most people is the beauty and grandeur of the Grand Canyon. To knowledgeable elk hunters, though, Arizona conjures up thoughts of wide, tall-racked bull elk. Let's join David as he gets some valuable tips from noted outdoor author and guide, Judd Cooney.
Big bull, you know, you're sitting in a tree stand watching a whitetail come in. You're ready, you know, he's not that, you know, he may be a good buck and everything, but these are intimidating. You know, they come in, they're liable to be coming in bugling, blowing snot, urinating, raking their horns in the trees, you know. They're a 700-pound animal, and I mean, they look like they're going to come in and tear you up. And I'll guarantee your tongue's going to be stuck in the roof of your mouth, and you're going to be shaking so bad that you're going to have a moving shot no matter how close or how still the elk is.
Right.
And that's part of the hunting, so you can't train for it.
With mental preparation from Judd, David is ready for opening morning. It arrives with a great bull answering the calls of a lonesome cow, made by George, who is positioned 30 yards behind David. George entices the big 6x in closer and closer. What a bull. Things have gotten interesting real quick. Suddenly, an immature bull appears on the scene, only 10 yards from David. The small bull spooks, but the herdmaster continues to close the distance, looking for the cow. Not spotting a receptive female, the bull turns to rejoin his harem. Sounding off with a bark, this bull signals to everyone within earshot that he is not convinced and the jig is up. In his very first encounter with a live elk of any kind, David makes a mistake common to newcomers. He has tucked in too tight behind the brush, leaving himself with minimal shot opportunities. 2 days later in New Mexico, David steps up to the plate again. This time, he and cameraman Michael Waddell have selected a tiny water hole where they had watched from a distance a record book bull quench his thirst the evening before. They only hope his movements are predictable and he'll return. At dusk, the big bull, now known as Big Mo, appears. David's heart rate begins to increase rapidly. It looks as if Big Mo would bypass a drink this evening. Suddenly, Big Mo heads straight for David, whose heart rate resumes its out-of-control pace. The bull eyes the water. Should he or shouldn't he? Now, Big Mo is 25 yards from David and closing the distance. David must now wait for the animal to offer a broadside or slightly quartering away shot, preferably with his head down drinking or looking away. Unfortunately, the bull is directly facing David, offering absolutely no shot. The bull hunter can only watch and wonder. Gambling that the bull, now looking back at his cows, will soon turn offering a better shot, David slowly comes to a full draw. Finally, the bull angles himself for a slightly quartering away shot. The arrow misses its mark. Dejection in its purest form. There'll be brighter days, David.
Well, I tell you what, David, bugling on that water hole, I think that'd have tore up anybody.
Well, it definitely got me, first novice elk hunter that I am. I mean, it really, that animal humbled me like I never thought I could be humbled by an animal. And by the time he gave me a shot, I really had lost all my composure.
Well, that's the water hole and bugling, but what about that bush?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was on that bush. He just kept getting closer and closer and further into it, and he pretty well took himself out of the shot. And
I mean, I was in the
That's
middle
a
of
good
that
bull,
bush.
too. That's a good bull.
It was a great bull. It's the very first morning, too. That was a big bull. And
Well, he's only been shooting a bow for 20 years, and, he knows everything has to stretch out, but if you can't stretch past the bush,
just a couple of steps sideways, and that'd been a nice bull to have.
Boy, I really just thought that bull was going to pick me off if I'd done that. But like George said later, that bull really wasn't worried. He wasn't concentrating on where I was. He was concentrating on where George was bugling behind me.
Right.
And I could have moved a lot more and been a lot more aggressive. But I'm glad to get those hunts out of the way now. We can get on to some good hunts.
Well, I think that's part of the strategies, of elk hunting. I think you learn so much, when you go. And what really makes it nice with George, you're able to hunt with the guides, and you pick up so much on techniques. But, George, I know that you, being United States Outfitters, you sent a checklist out about equipment, which to take on a hunt. and you know, obviously a backpack to carry your gear. And of course, if you have a guide that's with you, you know, he'll carry a lot too. But you know, one thing that I think that I really learned outside of the water, because you may walk 2, 3, 4, 5 miles in the morning, is good optics, you know, good range finder. You know, those things are essential in elk hunting.
They really are. A backpack having everything in it, so because you may end up, like you said, 3 or 4 miles away from where you ultimately got to get back to get home that night. And so having all the gear, the range finders have helped us tremendously now, because we can get into exact, like the light speeds by ranging. You know, you go right in, or Bushnell, or, you know, they get right into the exact yardage, and so there's less error from mistake. It helps us tremendously in muzzleloading and archery. The binoculars, you can't overemphasize binoculars enough in elk hunting. The rest of the stuff, the guides will usually pretty well provide.
Scope,
You know, the calling, the guides will do, and all of that. But there's a couple of things that are very fundamental in elk hunting.
Toilet paper, then.
Being number one.
That's very important.
But you know, David, you know, we had so many great hunts out there this year, and we're going to talk about calling in a later segment of the video. But we've got some great hunts coming up with Jim Zolb and some others. How about setting those up for us?
Well, Jim Zumbo is known to a lot of people as one of the masters of elk hunting, and we got a great muzzleloader hunt with him. Also, Steve Lamboy, Vice President of Licensing for Realtree.
And you make up for your misses.
And I finally cleared my name and got fortunate enough to take a nice bull on camera with a bow. And then, after that, we're going to have a first profile of the new pending world record typical elk calf from Arizona that was just discovered. So, very interesting.
That bull's huge, too. But let's look at those hunts, and we're going to take a look at the hopefully pending new world record bull. So let's take a look.
Realtree's Vice President of Licensing, Steve Lamboy, and U.S. Outfitter guide, Grizz Montoya, are hunting during the black powder season in central New Mexico. This means the bugling season is winding down as the rut comes to a close. The elk are not as responsive to the guide's calls, and a good hunting strategy during this time of year is exactly what Grizz and Steve are doing. Hunting in blinds overlooking well-used water holes, or tanks as they're more commonly known. As you can see, a nice 5-by is making his way to an adjoining tank. Within good camera range, but well out of range for Steve's CVA muzzleloader, this bull is over 200 yards away. With a slight breeze in their favor and a small rise between the hunter and the elk, the duo begin to move on the animal, hopefully getting within 100 to 150 yards for a clean shot. This particular ranch is a large working cattle ranch with lots of beef cattle roaming its vast areas. As Steve and Grizz make their way closer to the elk, you'll notice several head of livestock at the far end of the waterhole. This is a concern, since cattle will sometimes push elk away from the water. With the bull at 125 yards and quartering away, Steve rests the front sight just behind the bull's rib cage. A perfect shot. The 54 caliber 375 grain buffalo bullet does the job. After running only a short distance, the bull expires, and the pair of happy hunters make their way to admire Steve's first elk.
Yeah. Well, having the wind right from here too was a godsend.
I've seen him go to that second time in March too.
Have you?
I just had the feeling he may go there.
Yeah. Tell me something though. Why did he come alone?
Well,
Why now? Because he was bugling. I mean, there's cows by the dozen up there.
there's such a tremendous amount of elk in here, bulls and cows, that he just...
A fantastic hunt, guys. Congratulations.
Unbelievable.
Next, we're going to catch up with one of the premier elk hunters in the country today, Outdoor Life hunting editor, Jim Zumbo.
A rock tank that's got a little water in it, and there's definitely water in there. And a lot of those elk went in there this morning, so I expect them to come out looking for water.
Is this that tank I sat on a couple of years ago with my boy?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
exactly.
Good. Now, those elk normally come out of that cut out of the west, don't they?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them may come out of the north, but most of them will come out of the west.
Okay.
Jim has been a long-time client of USO, and George has directed Jim to a water hole that is well used by a herd of elk, one Jim has hunted in the past. It is early October, and warmer than normal temperatures have suppressed the rut, making the elk a little more predictable. Thus, Jim's strategy of hunting this tank should be productive.
This looks like a good spot.
Zumbo settles in behind a big fallen tree, providing a perfect natural blind. Again, Jim has located himself downwind from the water hole. Silently, with no warning, a small group of cows and calves, followed by a shooter bull, approach the tank for a drink. Jim eases his muzzle loader into position. The big 5x5 pushes his harem closer to the water and within Jim's effective range. Still working his cows, the bull advances even more. Finally, the bull breaks away long enough for a drink. Good shot. He won't go far.
He was hit hard. There he is. There he is. What a beauty. All right.
All right, Jim. What a bull.
All right. Nice big mature bull. Looks like his second time got busted off in a fight. There's so many bulls here, lots of them have busted points, but I'll take him anyway. He's a beauty.
In what turns out to be a truly phenomenal hunt, David follows Grizz and George's lead and silently maneuvers into the middle of 6 to 8 bugling bulls. Listen to the commotion. George feels like there must be a cow in heat close by, keeping the boys riled up. With the rain covering a lot of noise, the guys are able to move in close. George signals that he has spotted elk through the thick oak brush. Taking no risks of getting closer and possibly busting the party, George elects to cast a few cow calls in their direction. David has the Game Tracker AFC Carbon Arrow knocked on his Bear Majestic XLR bow, anticipating some action. fired up bull responds to the call by letting everyone know he's available for love or war. For what seems like forever, the bull stares at David and George. He's not sure what he sees, but the Realtree extra brown pattern does its job, and the big animal continues. Good shot. A complete pass-through. The bull ended up going less than 100 yards.
I think we made a good hit on him. We're gonna go see what we got.
Finally, the monkey is off David's back. He's redeemed himself with his first elk. True elation is the order of the day. There is no better feeling.
All right. Man, what a hunt. Woo! I am happy. How you feel, George?
That was awesome.
Redeemed myself, didn't I?
Yeah, you redeemed yourself.
Man, what a bull.
Let's watch again in slow motion and notice the tense bull drops several inches upon the release of the arrow. Still, the Trilock broadhead pierces both lungs for a quick, humane hunt.
Man, what a bull, George.
Great bull, buddy. Good shooting.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, that was fun.
Grizz was part of it. He's going to get the truck. But
Thank
man,
goodness. We'll be
Thank goodness.
We'll be
It is a waves over there.
Yeah.
But y'all called it right. You know, you're famous for aggressive elk hunting.
Well, with us, it works because we have so many elk. You go in, you bump a bull,
You
come
got
back,
elk.
you got more bulls, just like this
Yeah.
morning. You know, we missed that bull this morning. We were right on this bull, and 30 minutes later, you had him hit.
It was awesome. I mean, the bugling, the fighting one time. We were in the middle. We walked probably 2 miles to get here this morning. They wouldn't cooperate and come our way. They always go away from us. But it was an awesome hunt. USO has done it again, George. It was a fantastic hunt.
Yeah.
I'm just proud to be a part of it.
Well, we enjoyed having you, and the boy, the camel worked this morning, didn't it? When
Man.
that bull had us, I thought we were, but we blended in so well, he came right out there and gave us a shot.
He's a buck bull, I believe.
He is, no doubt.
Fantastic hunt. Man, am I tickled.
Now let's take a look at a monster bull's profile featuring the pending world record typical elk owned by Alan Ellsworth and taken by Lon Winters in 1968 in Arizona.
Alan, I want to thank you for letting us come look at this bull. I've heard all the stories, and they're true. This bull is magnificent.
Thanks, George. He is a big 6x6, isn't he?
Give us a little bit of dimensions and also, you know, where he's from and how you came by him, and it's just a tremendous story.
All right. First off, this elk was harvested back in 1968 by Lon Winters. It was shot here in the state of Arizona. After Lon had harvested the bull, he took and stored the rack in his garage there in Globe, Arizona.
So let me get this straight. So this has been in the garage ever since then?
Every,
For all these years.
all the way up until 1995 had been stored in this garage. And he had the rack stored upside down on its back points. You know, the main beam and the fourth, it'll store upside down. And if you look, you can see where they're kind of flattened off in a couple of places where it's like some of it's been, you know, maybe where he dragged the rack to move it so he can move some stuff around. And then I was able to purchase it in 95.
Well, give us a little bit of dimensions on some of these point lengths are just unbelievable.
All right, this bull will gross 465 inches. He'll net 447 and 7/8. Okay, main beams, right and left side, are about 56 inches in length. The inside spread's about 47. Here, the first brow tine is 23 inches long. The second brow tine, 29 inches long. Over here on the left side, first brow tine, 26 inches long. Second brow tine, 26 inches long. The thirds, the secret to a great bull, he's got to have great thirds, and you can see this bull's got great thirds. They're about 24 inches long. Over here on the fourth tine on the right side, this tine is 25 inches in length, 8 inches in circumference, clear out here at the end. Over on the left side, look at the mass, 23 inches in length, and again, the mass all the way throughout. The fifth tine, look at the mass on that fifth tine, 18 inches in length.
And the mass on these points here, he really doesn't get credit for.
No, it's just the characteristic of the elk. He doesn't get any credit for it all. It's just his character, just a very massive.
Give us a story behind this notch. I think this is an interesting point on this bull.
All right, again, going back to the mass. Back in 1968, the state of Arizona used metal game tags. The hunter, Lon, had to cut top and bottom of the main beam to reduce the circumference so he could be able to tag his elk.
Now let me get this straight. Because the tag was so small, or his antlers were so big, I guess would be the correct thing, he actually had to cut into his antler to get the tag.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Now this bull's got a little bit of non-typical on this point here, and then he's got a broke-off point here. If this point was on here, he would actually be the world record holder for a non-typical bull.
That's correct. The world record non-typical is right there where this one is at 447 and 1/8. So, you know, if he had that, he'd been the world record non-typical.
And this is replacing the world record bull that was taken back in 1899.
That's correct.
Well, we sure appreciate you sharing this bull with us and showing the people, and congratulations.
Thanks for stopping by.
Well, George, you got a chance to see that elk up close and personal. That's a big elk.
I was most impressed. It's just a 6x frame, and you know, this biggest bull's been killed since this century.
Yeah,
you know,
I
since
think
1899.
1899, almost 100 years later.
It was impressive.
You know, my boy David, kind of redeemed
Hey,
himself.
he redeemed
there a little bit.
himself, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a good job.
Did
That
the
was a
job.
great hunt.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that hunt. That's not the first bull that you saw.
We had so many bulls around us. We were just going in, being real aggressive with them, and we were actually just about ready to shoot another bull when this bull was coming into us and just, you know, had us pinned there, and luckily he was a great big bull, or we'd have busted him a lot. Boy, as you can tell by the thing we had, I don't know how many bulls we had around us.
You know, I think what was so crazy about watching that hunt, just watching the hunt, all the bulls just bugling all around you. You know, of course, obviously didn't get on camera, but you had to be in 9, 10 different bulls.
Yeah, there was a lot of bulls around there, and David's adrenaline had to be pumping, but he did the job.
I tell you, he did a great job. But you know, that's my man right there. That's my man. That's the man. Maybe all your guides. We did it, Grizz.
Yes, sir.
We had a good hunt. I want to introduce Grizz Montoya, and you know, we were out at New Mexico, and he and I had some great hunts out there. But that's my guy for life. You know, we made a contract together for life. You're out. You know, you go on with David, but we had a great hunt. But you know, Grizz, you know, hunting with you this past hunting season, I learned so much, you know, from different techniques. But there's so much, George, as we all talk about in calling and bugling for elk. And what I'd like for you guys to do is take us through cow calling and obviously some bugling as well. But, you know, you were telling me something very interesting in conversation in the past. You probably use a cow call more than you do, you know, for his bugling in a hunting situation.
Without a doubt. I interview a lot of guides that want to work for us every year, and one that tells me that he's bugling a lot of bulls and bringing a lot of bulls basically is a guy that doesn't know what he's talking about.
So if I apply for a job, I bugle 70 in, you know I'm...
Yeah, exactly. You know, the cow call is really the way to do it nowadays, and that's what my guides... We use the bugle strictly as as locating call in the morning. We use a lot on rifle hunts to stop a bull so we can get a standing shot at him. But what we're using, and have been for the last 4 or 5 years, is really the cow call.
Right.
And that's the call that really is producing our type of bulls.
Right.
anymore.
Grizz, what I'd like for you to do is take the cow call and do some explaining. One I'll be taking and tell us a little bit in a hunting situation, but what are we trying to accomplish by using the cow call?
Well, just as the turkey hunters know, that whenever you use a cow call, you're trying to make the bull, you're trying to create an illusion to have the bull come into a female call.
Right.
And that's exactly, there's so many different ones out in the market, but what we're trying to do here is actually use the more aggressive, hyper type bugles that, or the cow calls that bring the bulls in a little better.
Right. You know, like turkey hunting is all different kind of calls, you know, from yelping to cutting, you know, what we talked about. But basically, elk hunting is a very simple, you know, one or two sound note, I believe.
It's real simple.
Yeah.
That's really all there is to it.
You know, in calling for us using a cow call, can you do something? We talk about this in turkey hunting so much. Can you overcall?
I feel you can, but you can also be very timid in your calling as well. You need to try to get a feel of what that bull is doing.
Right.
What I've got here is a Wayne Carlton fighting cow call, and this cow call here, used aggressively, can really call the bulls in.
Right.
It really works
How
well.
about showing us how you
Sure.
call? I tell you, that really sounds good right there. Do you do any other kind of calling for us? You know, let's take a novice elk hunter. Is that the basic call that you would do 90% of the time?
Probably using one of just a standard. Now that's more of an aggressive cow call.
Right.
This is a series call, and this is more of just a standard cow call.
Right.
That's more of just a standard cow call. We like the aggressive, and
You can tell the difference in both the sounds too, from aggressive to more of a standard call.
And it really depends on what the bull, and again, that's nothing but experience to
Right.
tell you when to use which call. But both calls are very effective now, and really are the ones that should be used.
Right. Now, let's go through another scenario for us, locating bulls. And very similar, I'm going to keep relating this to turkey hunting because I do a lot of turkey hunting, but, you know, at daylight or in the afternoon or any time during the day, you use a bugle a lot for us locating, you know, the bulls, you know, for us during the day, just similar to what we would do maybe owl hooting in the morning, you know, for us locating turkeys.
Right.
Take me through some of those scenarios, George, just how and when to use a bugle.
Well, the bugle, again, is used early in the mornings to locate. Now, if a bull's bugling, what we do is we move into him very aggressively,
Right.
usually being very quiet, because we're trying to cut that distance down as much as we can. We want to get as close as we can. We kind of want to get in his area of protection without him even knowing we're there. Then, if we're in a later season, what we call a defending stage, when those bulls are actually defending those cows, if we can slip in there, then a bugle will be very effective because he believes that there's another bull inside of his protective little area.
Exactly.
That's about the only time we would probably use a bugle. The rest of the time we'd be using the cow calls and luring them out with the cow calls, or
That's-
bringing the cows to you, because you bring the cows, you're going
Exactly.
to bring the bull.
Exactly. I think that's one thing, and we're going to see a hunt in just a few minutes with Grizz and you and I and Red Ryder last year. And, you know, last year when we were hunting, we had myself and the cameraman and you and Red Ryder for us calling. And we actually, what I call a two-man, you know,
Tag
calling,
team.
you know, tag teaming them out there, and it really works.
It sure did.
You know, now explain to me, you know, what we're doing there.
Well, what we did is we basically tried to create an illusion for that bull. And what we did is we split up in a way that he was probably 25 yards from me, and
Right.
we were keeping each other within view, and that way he would call at certain times and I would call at certain times, and we could both see the bull, and we were trying to create that illusion.
Yeah, and something we did on our hunt too, I think was very effective. We do this a lot of times in turkey hunting, is we actually split up. I was probably as much as 70 to 80 yards in front of you. And again, giving that illusion, the cows a little bit further, you know, behind where I was actually set up, you know, for the shot, and it just worked to perfection. But, you know, we're going to show that hunt right now. And Grizz, you know, I was fortunate enough to take that bull the second morning, but the first afternoon, there's one that I'm still dreaming about that I wish I could have shot, but that was a big bull.
And he came in, I mean, one cow call, and he turned around and came running in.
Yeah, you know, we had Mitch, our camera, we were filming, and we'd actually almost called it the day. In the evening, we'd been working bulls throughout the day, and going in that afternoon, we'd seen this big 7x6, really a big bull, and had a bunch of cows with him. And,
I hear an excuse.
well, you know, it's not really an excuse. You know, I'm blaming it on my camera, but it was my call. That's the unfortunate thing. But You know, he's with cows early. We went and worked a few other bulls, and coming back out, we caught this bull alone, but you know, by himself. And Grizz and Red Ryder started calling, and next thing we know, from about 400 or 500 yards off, he turns around and is coming straight to us. And you know, the light is falling with the camera, and we move up into position and get behind a little cover, and I come to full draw, and you know, here's this 7x6 coming and bearing down on us, and he stops at about 30 yards from us. And I did probably the stupidest thing I've done in a long time. I asked the camera, I said, "Have you got enough light?" You know, he says, "It's your call." And I hate that for my camera. If he told me to go ahead and shoot.
You want somebody to blame.
Yeah, I wanted somebody to blame either way, but a beautiful 7x6, and you know, hunting with the cameras and for the cameras, you know, it sometimes doesn't gather enough light. But what really hurt me is when we got back in and we did have enough light. But the next morning we had a great hunt and was very fortunate enough to take a 6x6, which we're going to see, and also with Jay Novacek. You know, tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. He was a lot of fun to have in camp.
Yeah, Jay, you know, I guess lucky for us, was hurt there and came elk hunting with us instead of playing for the Cowboys. But he had a great hunt, did an excellent job. Again, you know, we were kidding him about, you know, you were excited, and you know, you could tell he was excited, and he's talking about playing in front of so many people. But you know, he was excited there. I do it that
I tell you, he had a great hunt. Jay's a lot of fun to be with. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to take you on a hunt with me and Grizz is the guide, and also with Jay Novacek. Let's take a look.
That one spiked right up in that dip. It's probably just a little bit early, isn't it? Yeah, he's still early still. There's one out here that keeps pulling on the hillside here. It looks like a cow. Right. What they do is they come down up Oak Brush down to the bottom to the water tank. Just get the wind in our favor. Down this way, work it up. Got a good chance of getting just something there. That sounds good. Let's see if we can spot another elk or two before we look.
Bill and guide Andy Valerio had spotted a nice elk moving out of the timber across a huge pasture. Andy's strategy is to observe the bull long enough to get a good read on his direction of travel, and then, using the scattered thickets as cover, make a series of moves that will hopefully put Bill in a position for a shot. As the bull continues his march, Bill and Andy silently but quickly move to a point that will intercept the animal. As the 6x6 continues to bugle, Andy and Bill are able to hone in closer to the bull's exact path. There will be an encounter. Bill and Andy are in position. Listen carefully, and you'll hear Bill's arrow being drawn back across the rest. Well, that's elk hunting. The next day, however, things would change. Bill hooked up with Grizz, along with a second guide, Red Ryder, and together they plan to do a dual cow calling when the time gets right. The trio has spotted a large herd bull with a small harem of cows, and they feel like if they get close to him, a few seductive cow calls might lure him in for a shot. Being very, very careful not to expose themselves, they take every opportunity to glass carefully before moving into the opening. Eventually, Bill gets into position, leaving Grizz and Red Ryder behind to call, hopefully pulling the bull into Bill's archery range. Bill can hear the bull walking towards him. Bill spots a set of legs approaching through the brush and begins drawing back the Jennings machined extreme. The elk continues to walk, forcing Bill to lead the animal considerably. Great shot. The arrow angles up into the chest cavity. He's hit good. Grizz and Red Ryder continue to call, trying to relax the bull, hoping he won't run far. The bull crashes just out of sight.
I think I got a good hit on him. Oh, good job, guys. Good job, Red Ryder. Shoot. I think I made a good hit on him. Came out here, I got a chance to range him. About 32, 33 yards, felt real comfortable. I think I have a double lung up, but you can't ever tell.
Well, let's sit here for about 20 minutes.
Okay.
And make sure that we get up. You can hear them gurgling.
Oh, that's it. Just walk right in.
Here's another look in slow motion. Great shot.
Oh, man. Look at that, Joker. I'm going to go all the way around if you don't know those horns.
Oh, what a great young. Cool. Good calling job, buddy. Look at him.
Guys, that is absolutely fantastic. Let me get this Jennings bow down.
Good bull. This is a big old 6-point.
Oh, 6'5", look at this thing.
He crashing those trees. Look at that.
He has been hitting it hard. I got to give y'all guys a high five. Red Ryder, you don't know how happy I am this morning. Great hunt, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Folks, I got to tell you what happened just real quick. We were on a bull, real good bull yesterday afternoon, and 7 by 6, and got on another bull this morning. Chased them all around, had a bunch of cows. Heard this bull way off, and these guys kept calling, did a great job, and kept him bugling, and we got up here to him, and he was bedded down, and you probably saw they got off behind me about 70 yards, and I got up in position. They got him up, and he started coming up there checking for those other cows, which were these guys, and I just got real lucky and made a great shot, but great morning. Look at this thing right here. God, we got good eye guards on him. Oh, look at this thing.
First up, Bill?
First one, especially on a 6-pound.
Great start.
Hey, great start.
Open young.
Well, let's do this. Let's get him tagged and get him back to camp. Let's see what Jay did this morning. But you got one happy guy this morning. Again, I can't help but do this. Red Ryder.
We catch up now with George, Dallas Cowboy tight end Jay Novacek, and guide Gilbert Pacheco. A back injury has threatened Jay's football career, and while he won't be running up and down the mountains chasing elk, he's certainly plenty healthy to occupy a bow blind on a water hole, while Gilbert does a little calling.
Gilbert will be coming down through the draw and probably off this point.
Yes, sir. We'll be waiting for him.
We will be at that. Go get him, guys.
Back. Get him. off
They
this
usually
ridge
come
here?
off of this point right here, or they'll come off of that north face over there on that side. The wind looks like it's going to be just about perfect for us this evening.
Do they come in with all the cows? Or
A lot of times they just come in by themselves. A lot of
Is that
times cows will come in also. But usually they come in by themselves.
Will they just keep them cows bedded down and then?
That's usually what happens. If they come in to water with cows, they usually don't drink. They just stay at the end of the water.
Really?
So
Huh.
we'll see what comes in.
Amazing creatures.
That
the
is
way
for
they have
sure.
it.
That is for sure.
With the rut at a peak and the bulls really chasing cows most of the day and night, water is a very valuable commodity. A thirsty elk becomes vulnerable. As expected, a lone bull appears out from the timber headed towards the tank. This can be a really nerve-wracking time for a bow hunter, knowing a shot is going to be presented. A second camera angle over Jay's shoulder gives you a bird's-eye view. The bull is now in bow range. Jay is patient and waits for the elk to angle his body perfectly. Folks, if you've ever been in this situation, you know the importance of emotion control. Jay begins to move his bow into shooting position. Now Jay draws and misses right under the bull. Quickly, another arrow is knocked. This time, the arrow finds its mark. With the broadhead and most of Jay's 33-inch arrow shaft quartering into the bull's vitals, he won't go far. Good hit, Jay.
Good shot. Good shot. He's not going very far. Stop. Excellent. Excellent. All right.
In this slow-mo, you'll see Jay's arrow hitting the big vital area on a big animal from 45 yards.
Huh? Look at that bull. Excellent. Thanks. Good job, buddy. Good job. Excellent job. Oh, man. First one. Looking bull. Okay, so first bull. You can't beat it. No, you can't beat it.
Now let's join Realtree Pro staffer Brad Harris of Loman Game Calls with this monster bull hunting tip.
You know, elk are really big animals. They're very dense, they're very thick, they're big bones. When you're out there and you get that shot of a lifetime, you want to make sure you put it in the right spot. Look for that quartering away angle. Try to avoid the big bones. These are big, thick animals. Make sure you pick your shot properly. You know, like I said, elk are big animals. They may stand 5 foot at the shoulder and weigh 900 pounds or more. And that means you need to make the right shot. One of the best ways to do that is practice on a life-size target before you go hunting. Practice not only shot placement, but guessing that distance. A big animal like this is going to look closer than what he truly is. So spend that time practicing on a life-size target. Make sure you put that proper shot in there. I'm Brad Harris, and that's your Realtree Outdoors tip.
George, that's a good hunt with Jay, but I tell you what, Grizz, our hunt, that brings back a lot of memories for me.
Me too. That was a great hunt.
I tell you, it was a good hunt. I was fortunate enough to make a good shot, and so me and him next year. But you know, Jay did something, you know, you and I talked about on water holes, you know, for water hole hunting, can be very effective in the fall.
Well, as arid as our southwest region is, and of course, you know, having the big bulls we have down there, water is a very good way of locating and also hunting on, especially if you've got some people that are hurt like Jay was, or you've got some people that can't move real well, or water is very effective for us.
And I tell you what, it worked real well. And I know we talked about this a lot of times when you have a rainy fall, they probably don't come as water holes as aggressively or as often, just simply because there's other puddles, you know, laying around. They don't have to.
No, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
If it's wet, then you've got to, what we call run and gun. You got to go after them.
Well, you know, speaking of run and gun, that's one of the things I think I enjoyed most, you know, being hunting with you guys, is being aggressive. And I want to talk a little bit about aggressive elk hunting. You know, probably out of all the hunting that we've done in elk hunting during a certain situation of time, you do need to be aggressive. And George, what I want to do is throw it to you first. When do you need to be aggressive?
Well, as I tell my guides all the time.
All the time.
I mean, I tell my
thought
guides.
you'd say that.
I tell my guides, if you believe you're not being aggressive enough, you're not.
Right.
Okay, you should be, as far as my type of elk hunting, you should be on the edge of busting it at all times. But also, I have lots of bulls, so if you bust one, you can go to the next one.
Right.
But you know, I believe very much in being very aggressive. If you sit there and you're passive about it, that bull, just by how big he is and how fast he just walks, he'll just walk away and leave you standing. Okay,
Right.
I believe you be very aggressive. You push. You know, situations like you have an animal that is raking. You've got a bull on the other side of the meadow that's raking a tree. Think about it. When he's raking, his eyes are closed because he doesn't want to get the particles into his eyes.
Right.
He can't hear because all he can hear is these antlers in the brush or the tree. And so consequently, you know, he's incapacitated. He's deaf and he's blind. You get up and you run right at him. You pull up and you make your shot.
Right.
But I don't know how many people I've had to run up, grab, and go, come on,
let's
come
go.
on, because they do not want to go charging this 800-pound animal.
Right.
Okay, but that's type of our aggressive guys who the animal's coming just broadside. You know, it's walking 30 yards away, just walking parallel, and simply all they have to do is pull their bow, because what he'll do is he'll stop, he'll swing his whole head to look at you, and by that time you make your shot.
You know, a lot of times with Grizz and I were hunting, you know, for a day and a half, we had an opportunity to hunt for, I was fortunate enough to take my bull, and I'm going to throw another scenario out, and I learned a lot from this, is moving in on a bull with cows. You know, we waited for the opportune moment to move, but there was once or twice that we got caught out in the open.
Well, I think if you just, what you got to do with those elk is you got to play their same game. If they see you moving, they key very much on movement. So if they see you moving, you're done.
Right.
So you have to stay in the shadows as best as you can, and you try every time. You have to keep a visual on all the elk as best as you can, and when they stop and look at you, you freeze. If you play the freezing game with them, 9 out of 10 times you'll win.
You know, something too that I think is very important too, we talked so much about approaching from behind, you know, when possible. But again, that just makes sense right there, that elk's hopefully looking away from you and trying to keep that elk, you know, approaching from the rear, and I think that works real good.
Especially when you got them raking or moving, you know, because they're paying attention more. They've already been there. They're paying more attention to their front, and as long as you go fast enough, okay, if you just try and walk and sneak, but if you'll move, you know, fast and quietly, a lot of times you can cut the distance down very quickly.
Right. One other question, using the land for your behalf, you know, I'm talking about hills, and again, I relate this to turkey hunting a lot. A lot of times we'll stay on the downhill side of a hill, you know, forward your thermals and trying to get the wind. Wind's probably as critical in elk hunting as anything that I've seen. you know, keeping the wind to your face as you're moving. But using the land to your behalf works extremely well too, for staying just up under dips and rises.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the things is you need not be afraid, because most of the elk hunters that we get are usually whitetail hunters,
Right.
and they're afraid to move on them. What happens is if you start sneaking through the trees and try to get behind that bull, like George said, that you have to be aggressive as they're walking away. They've already been there, so they're not
Right.
afraid. If they didn't detect you the first go around, if you stay right on them, a lot of times you can get them to spin sideways with a cow call or something and ready for a shot.
Right. You know, one of our guys this past hunting season was Michael Pierce, who's an outdoor writer, and he hunted with Andy. And again, Andy's just one of those quality guys that USO has, but they had a great hunt. And George, I want you to tell us a little bit about Andy and also Michael's hunt.
Their hunt is one of those hunts that just typifies Andy's ability to talk to those elk. He just has a sixth sense, as a lot of my guides do, about how to work these bulls and pull them in.
You know, what we have coming up next, we got a hunt with Michael Pierce, who's a good friend of ours, who's an outdoor writer, and also Ross Simpson, who is in camp. And I think Ross has hunted with you guys quite a bit. But what we're going to do now, we got two exciting bow hunts, you know, coming up next. Let's take a look.
Mike Pierce, as Bill mentioned, is an outdoor writer from Kansas whose works even wind up in prestigious places such as the Wall Street Journal. Here, Mike and Andy try to locate a bull on the first morning of Mike's hunt. The big Ponderosa pine flats are an ideal place to get on a workable bull up into the morning as the bulls head for the bedding areas. Mike and Andy get a response immediately. Andy checks the wind so a plan can be put into place. Andy's sweet cow sounds have produced great results for many hunters. This morning would be no different. A handsome 5x5 looking for some company ventures in. With the bull committed, Andy ceases calling. The herd bull bugles in the background, making this satellite bull a little nervous. Mike's arrow hits the bull right on the edge of the shoulder. However, there was enough penetration for a lethal hit. Congratulations, Mr. Pierce.
I'm going to have to wait because I can't walk to him.
Taking another look in slow motion allows a hunter to appreciate the awesome stopping power of even the edge of the shoulder blade. Fortunately, the arrow placement was far enough back to get the job done.
That's quite the hunt. It didn't last real long, but
Yeah, it was a pretty short hunt, huh?
it, you called that spike, in first?
Yeah, did you see that? I was calling and the spike came in.
What, 10 yards?
About 10 yards from us. And then there was a bull bugling on this side.
Yeah. And then this one over here.
Yeah, and then there was one over here. And all of a sudden you saw this one running in.
Looked down there and I saw some brown legs. I thought, oh, it must be another cow. And I saw the cow had antlers. And I got excited. I'm not afraid to admit that I was shaking. Luckily, he came in and gave me a good shot. You cow called him and stopped him just right. I had about a 4-foot opening, and you hit him with the cow call, and he stopped. And it was just, got to take my time, you know, really concentrate. I was determined to either take my time, make a good shot, or not shoot. That was a thrill.
The Floyd Lee Ranch, one of the private ranches that U.S. Outfitters controls hunts on, is an elk hunter's paradise. The terrain is gently rolling hills made up of exceptional habitat supporting plenty of elk. Now we join a bow hunt with USO client Ross Simpson and guides Gilbert Pacheco and David Miller. The trio heads towards some distant bugling. Getting to within 100 yards before making any calls greatly increases a bow hunter's odds. Ross can see elk up through the brush. Meanwhile, David begins thrashing a limb against a tree and bush. Now, this is a familiar sound to the elk, and sometimes will attract a bull who's coming to run off any unwelcome intruder. A good-looking bull marks the territory with his scent by rubbing his forehead in an overhanging limb. Also, any chance to shred something with his horns boosts a bull's ego. Ross and Gilbert ease forward. The bull is only 30 yards away, but on the other side of some brush. With David still thrashing the brush, simulating a bull, and throwing in a few soft cow calls, Ross senses a shot opportunity and focuses. At a mere 20 yards, Ross settles his pin on the chest cavity. Gilbert's call freezes the bull. Ross is mentally trying to thread his arrow through some well-placed obstruction. Finally, the arrow is released, and though it grazes a limb on the way to the elk, it enters low in the back of the chest cavity, catching the liver and lung. Watch closely and you'll notice the arrow hit the overhanging limb, altering the flight path. Luckily, it was still a lethal shot. Way to go, Ross. What a beautiful trophy.
Very congratulations.
Guys, thank you,
Man,
and thank you guys for all of your
Look at your brother.
rattling and calling, man. Yeah.
Let's catch up with Wayne Carlton for this monster bull hunting tip.
You know, I think we've all made the mistake of calling a little bit too much when trying to call critters in close. But if you happen to have called a little bit too much and that elk's coming in and he's right there and you don't have that shot, maybe be only 15 yards away and he's looking straight at you or trying to find out where that sound came from, what do? The best thing to do is absolutely nothing. Just hold your ground, don't move, don't budge, don't call, don't try to pull your bow back, don't do anything. Let that animal dictate to you what you're going to do. And the way they do that is they'll either, when they turn the leaves, they'll either turn real slow and you can draw and get a shot, or maybe they'll just whirl to run because they're nervous, they don't see what was making the sound, so they're trying to get away from that area. They're just spooky. Well, whatever you use to call that animal in, use that same call to stop him. If it's a diaphragm, just... And quite often that'll make that animal stop dead in his tracks. If it's a cow call, or if you want to use a combination of the two, use them. Sometimes it'll stop them dead in their tracks. Sometimes it'll give you a broadside shot. Other times it will actually make the animals come back up and give you a different angle on that shot. If you don't exactly have the shot when it comes in, don't take that first opportunity. Make sure it's right. If it isn't right, try to get them broadside so you get a good shot.
Well, I'll tell you what, Grizz, that's 2 exciting bow hunts up close and personal.
Yes, sir. That's private land hunting at its finest.
I tell you what, Fleur Lee Ranch has been good for us. But George, you know, I tell you what, you know, you have a lot that you have to offer for us United States Outfitters, and what I'd like for you to do is take us through the steps. How do we get in touch with United States Outfitters and the service that you offer? How about tell us a little bit about that?
We basically offer 2 types of services. We do the private land hunts, much like what we've been showing here, and then we also do what we call a professional licensing service. We apply for like 13 different species, the bighorn sheep, antelope, elk, coos deer.
Basically what
moose.
all the western states have to offer.
Right.
The different species.
And what we're doing is basically applying for the trophy areas in those states,
Right.
trying to educate people about where they should be hunting. If you're going to look at elk, you better look at Arizona and New Mexico. If you're going to be looking at mule deer, you better be looking at Utah and Nevada. So what we try and do is get people quality tags. First and foremost, with the service, what we try and do is draw them a tag so that they are probably going to be successful because they're in a very high quality area.
Right.
Because what they're looking for is there.
Well, I think one thing that's really neat about the service that you have to offer, you know, you guys do this 12 months out of the year. It's not like a situation, you know, I come into camp and let's go hunt for the first day, but you're in there well in advance of the season's opening up. You know, by hunting a lot of places year in, year out, you already have a good feel for that place. But, you know, I think that's most important for somebody who has a limited amount of time to hunt 5, 6 days, wherever the case may be, is they really need to rely on that guide for the most effective hunts they can have. And I think that's one of the things I'm most impressed with you guys.
Well, the licensing service has taught us that. It is easy to be a good outfitter
Right.
in a good area.
Right.
It is very difficult to be a good outfitter in a bad area. So we basically did the research. We know what areas we want to be into, and so by going in, applying, a client can draw a tag into an area and get
Right.
a very high quality hunt for a lot less money than if he had to go out to a private land situation and do that. And I think we'll see on some of the hunts that are coming up on the licensing service that you'll see that we can get high quality at a low cost.
You know, basically what we did, you know, we went to Arizona and ran cameras with some of your customers that you have that were gracious enough to allow our cameras with them, and we had 3 outstanding hunts, you know, from Arizona with, I'm going to let you do this because you were there, but tell us a little bit about the Christmas family.
Well, it's father and son team that came to us. Ed is an amputee from the thigh down, and these people, as well as Joe, drew Arizona elk tags. And so this is through our licensing service. So
Right.
once they drew the tags, then we set the hunt up and do the guiding for them. And these are very high quality areas, and that's what we go after.
Right.
We can't tell you enough how important it is where you go. The 3 most important things about elk hunting: location, location, location.
Right.
Just like buying real estate. You can't harvest what's not there.
Exactly.
So that's what we try and do with the licensing services. Get people in, get them applied, get them drawing quality tags, and then we can set up our type of quality hunts for them.
Right. Well, what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a look at those hunts. And these are from Arizona. We have a hunt with Joe Snyder, a customer of USO's, and also a father-son hunt I think you're really going to enjoy. Let's take a look.
When Joe Snyder of Jackson, New Jersey applied for an Arizona muzzleloader tag with USO's professional licensing service, he knew the odds of drawing in this top quality area were slim, just like they are for everyone. But he turned out to be one of the lucky ones. And boy, did he make the most of the opportunity. Guide Randy Weems has put Joe on a big old bull with massive horns. They'd patterned him earlier that morning and felt like they would encounter him again that afternoon. And boy, did they. Joe crawls into a better position. The huge, massive bull continues on his path, following a cow and calf. Unfortunately, the bull disappears from the camera's view behind the brush. Joe, on the other hand, has a clear view and prepares to squeeze off. Joe makes a good, solid hit.
He's down. He only went about 40 yards. Go ahead and reload. I'll keep an eye on him.
The bull is down. Joe reloads just in case. What a bull. Joe's bull scores just over 335 Boone and Crockett points. Lee is being guided by Gary Howell of USO, and they are after a great bull they had seen a couple of days earlier.
Right up ahead, buddy. There's your herd bull. There's your herd bull. You see him? Yeah. You got him? Yeah. Okay,
Finally,
right up ahead.
they spot the monarch in the distance
Nice 6x6.
and keep moving in
Oh, what
for
a
a
herd
clear
bull.
shot.
He's beautiful. Okay, we got to move. We got to move. Those cows, he's pushing cows. Okay? Let's move on him. Let's go. Let's move. Let's move.
Take him, Lee. Good shot.
We ran down, threw down the spot and scope. How far you figured your shot today?
225.
225 is what I guess. Set down that spotter. You took the rest. I bugled. He stopped, gave us the broadside, and you did the deed.
Yeah.
I want to congratulate you on one heck of a shot.
I appreciate it.
and the fine effort. One heck of a trophy animal. You earned it every second of the minute. Congrats, Buck.
Now, let's catch up with Lee's dad, Ed Christmas, on the same hunt as he encounters a true bull of a lifetime. As George mentioned, Ed is an amputee from the thigh down. He might be a little physically challenged, but he certainly isn't handicapped.
Yeah, these bulls a lot of times will come right up out of this bottom and right up on this other side. And we've heard quite a few bulls in here bugling and stuff like that. So I think we'll be able to get into them a little bit. So we'll just kind of take it easy and let them get started and see if we can't find one of them. And bust one, that's right.
George and Ed hear the piercing bugle of an approaching bull as he moves up the draw toward them. The mid-morning thermals are now rising, keeping their scent from drifting down into the draw where the elk are coming from. Look at the size of those antlers. That bull has got to go over 350. Using his walker for a gun rest, Ed settles the scope hairs on the bull. George tries to stop the monster bull in the opening for a clear shot by cow calling.
Right there. There. You got it. Hit him again if you can. Put another one in. Hit him again. Hit him again.
A second shot would not be necessary. Ed Christmas has just taken a tremendous animal. Congratulations.
He went down. He's down. He's down. Right there.
Got him.
Hit him right there. Hit him. You got it. Hit him again if you can. Put another one in. Hit him again. I'm proud of you, Pop.
Oh, well, Rob,
Buddy, he looks bigger up close, doesn't he? Great bull, guy. Great shot. One shot, about 250 yards, and you did it. Okay? Yeah. All right. Congratulations.
Now, let's take a look at this monster bull profile featuring the world record non-typical elk, taken in 1961 in Manitoba by James Berry.
Roger, I tell you, this is absolutely incredible, and from what you're telling me, this is actually world record non-typical elk.
Sure is. James
Tell me
Berry
a little
bull.
story about this. I tell you, I think I'd get a little nervous if I had to shoot this.
James didn't. He was meat hunting, you know, just like a typical, a lot of old heads, people hunted for meat.
Right.
That elk was a lot of meat for the family, and it was only in recent history that he found out he had the world record in his garage.
Tell me the story about this. This is absolutely fascinating to me. Tell me a little bit about the story about this.
James Berry shot it in 1961.
Okay.
He rode in on horseback. He saw an antler going through the bushes and shot it with a 30-30. about 40 yards. Took the meat home and was in his garage ever since.
And what's really neat about this display right here, that we're at the 97 SHOT Show, you actually have a elk tour. And how about explaining a little bit about that and some of the places you're going to be going the next year?
It's the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation World Record Elk Tour. We'll be traveling coast to coast this year, about 25 market areas. About 1 million people will see it this year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The heads are on loan from the owners or private collections or museums. This is part of Bob Howard and Dana Hollinger in California. They're probably one of the greatest collections in North America. I've had some of their other heads in the tour in previous years.
That's absolutely fantastic. Well, that's what I call a big elk. That thing is absolutely huge.
I think Manitoba has like the largest, genetically the largest strain of elk in the world, I think, is what I've been told, and it definitely, you can tell by that.
I'll tell you what, looking at the Arizona hunts, it's not too far behind, but that average on those 3 bulls right there has to be over 340 Boone and Crockett score.
On the Arizona hunts, yeah, all of them are over 340. Impressive bulls.
That has some good bulls right there.
How was it like, George, putting Mr. Ed Christmas on that bull with the handicap and all? That's pretty neat.
It was one of the most exciting guided that I've ever done. You know, there was some luck involved. I mean, the wind was blowing, so I was able to get him pretty close, and I only had to move him a couple of 100 yards, and it was one of the most exciting, also most frustrating hunts to try and do, but it all came out right.
Very rewarding, too.
Very, very much rewarding.
That was just awesome.
I tell you what, I think what's nice about elk hunting, but you know, elk hunting itself, the beautiful country and the hills and the bugling of the elk and the cow calls, even, just a great experience.
Yeah, and carrying 50 pounds of camera gear for 6 miles, that's just great.
Well, you telling me you want to go back to the camera, or you rather hunt?
I think I'm going to concentrate on the camera this year. I really am. I enjoy filming, and even though I got to hunt last year and enjoyed it, I'm looking forward to getting you guys.
You just can't handle messing up again, can you?
Just can't handle it.
That's just
right.
exactly right.
You know, bugling, holding that camera with the elk bugling is a little bit different than trying to get that Bowflex. But we had a great time out there, George, and I want to personally thank all of your guys. They did a masterful job out there with us and putting up with us, you know, and the frustrations of the camera. But you know, I think it goes to show, with the help of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and the conservation groups in any kind of species, it really helps to the notoriety of what's going on out there in the wood forest conservation.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of dollars going on the ground, and as you can see, it's working.
Right.
And things are very bright for elk hunting in the future.
I already have my invitation, and I didn't miss last year.
We'll be elk hunting a lot together, buddy.
Yes. Are you changing? You coming on my side now?
You know, after watching you shoot, I thought maybe I might.
You know, I'll tell you what, any kind of hunting, you know, that's part of it. We had a great time, and again, I want to thank you. And we're going to have George's telephone number coming up shortly after the show, and you know, also the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. But folks, I can truthfully tell you, I've hunted all over the country all my life, and this is probably one of the neatest experiences that I've ever enjoyed. And you know, you too, it's not so much if you happen to take or not take an animal, but just enjoying the experience. And I can promise you a worthwhile trip if you go out west and hunt with George. But especially, I want to thank you for joining us today. And as I always say, when you have an opportunity, take a child hunting and fishing so they too can enjoy the outdoors. For David Blanton, George Tallman, I'm Bill Jordan, and we hope to see you next time for more exciting action from Realtree Outdoor Productions.
To book your hunting trip of a lifetime, contact United States Outfitters at 1-888-HUNT-USO or visit them at their website. For information on the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, give them a call at 1-800-CALL-ELK. This has been a Realtree Outdoor production.